This is impromptu, right?
Hey, welcome to the Live Reality Games. My name is Steven, and I'm back to talk about more Surviving Reelfoot. It is day 7 of Reelfoot. We're at the final 6. They're all scrambling right now, and who better than talk about that with than with the reigning champ, Justin? Justin, you have 1 day left of your crown.
I know. I am excited. I honestly, I could say, I mean, just about anybody right now, I think, is deserving, and I would say, has certainly played, I think, a very different game from me.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, probably a much better game than me because they weren't idled out. So, I'm excited to pass it on. I'm excited to see who's going to clinch it here at the end. There's only 6 people left, but I still feel like there's so much game left to play and so many different ways that this could go. It's certainly, I don't think, as predictable as maybe last season was. So it's exciting.
Well, we're at the point where it was also really dynamic last season, right? Because once the Carlton made it to the final 7, then it was like, where do we go from here?
Right.
And that
Right.
was, I think, probably some of the most interesting pivot points of like those decisions being made at the final 7-6. So
Yeah,
it was probably like the final 12-11 for your season, and the 7-6 were like the really interesting moments of change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that part of the game was so crazy. I remember, I felt like I had a ton of options, but at the same time, I knew a lot of my options I probably couldn't win even if I got there. Which I actually feel like some of these people that are playing right now maybe feel the same way, right? Like people have a lot of options, but which one is the option that's actually going to get them the win? And I think I realized kind of early on I had few options. Like I knew if I went with Taylor, if I went with Shane. Even if I maybe went with Amanda, I felt like I was going to be screwed. Like I really felt like Ronnie, maybe Sarah, would my only really 2 options to get to the end with a chance to win. So it was just a very dynamic group. It was a lot of good, strong players, and so yeah, I mean, and I think we have a very similar situation here where everybody has has an actual good story. I mean, I know there's a lot of Storm fans out there. Again, I don't want to get hate mail. And I think I'm starting to see Storm's game come alive. So even though like maybe I was a little unsure about Storm a couple days ago, him being left out, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but him being left out of that vote and now scrambling, if he can make it through these next 2, or next few, he's got a really compelling story for me now because he's found himself on the outs and wriggled his way to the end anyway. So I think all of them, it's so interesting. I think maybe outside of Angela and Lauren, all of them have a little bit of like I was on the outs, so now I found a way to get to the end anyway. Like Megan, Sharif, Bash, and Storm now, right? They all have a similar vibe of like, I knew I was on the bottom, or I knew I was on the outs, but I got here anyway. So I'm really curious to see how that plays out. I think Angela and Lauren are in a unique position where they really they've been kind of central to the strategy from my perspective, from the viewer's perspective, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at the votes, and I don't think Angela or Lauren have ever voted incorrectly. I think they voted correctly every tribal council they've attended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I think Lauren's name has been thrown out there, and even though Angela got a couple votes, I don't really feel like she was ever at risk. So I do feel like out of the 2, Lauren has been more at risk and maybe seen more as the threat or the person to take out. I feel like Angela's been doing a really good job of staying in the know, staying somewhat in control, but being less of a target. I think it was the Barb vote where I think Angela got a couple of votes, but I think Barbara knew she was going. I think Sharif kind of did it out of loyalty. I don't think it was ever like, we think Angela's actually going to go.
Yeah.
So, I think even those votes that she have there, I don't really think they really count against her. So
yeah, no one's playing a perfect game.
No, I don't think anyone's playing a perfect game. I think both statistically and socially and like actual game wise, I think they've all had some really interesting moments. I think will continue to, and I think they've probably had some mistakes, or some things that they may look back and be like, I probably could have done that differently. I know Ryan probably is feeling that way. Poor Ryan. But yeah, I think since we last talked, right, we had the merge, which I think we were all dying for. I think waiting till final 10, how brutal for them. And I think that first merge vote was insane. Like it
Mhm.
was crazy. And I remember our first merge vote being really crazy. That's when Carlos went, and it kind of became like, what's
Well,
the
you had Todd who's like just stick to the plan, and then you
yeah,
had Sherry's like I'm out of here with her safety without power, and then the
yeah,
vote just and Carlos was a backup plan, and Todd had spooked it. And Todd unfortunately kind of spooked kind of the people on the peripheral of the Carlton Alliance, which was Mike and Taylor, so they weren't willing to jump ship on that.
yeah. It was such a wild round, and I remember Carlos kind of being like the least of all evils. I don't think anyone really was like, I want Carlos to go,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just like there was so much idle paranoia. We didn't really know what Lydia was doing at that point. We were like, we want her to work with us, but does she have reason to? Taylor and Mike were included in Todd's group, so we weren't really sure if that. I mean, it was just so insane. I remember being so insane. And I feel like it was similar for this season, right? You had a potential 5v5 in that
Mm-hmm.
lineup, right? With kind of the two original alliances sticking together plus one flip for each. So
Mm-hmm.
Casey kind of working with blue and Bash working with yellow. And Megan, you know, made the flip.
Yeah.
I think utilized the relationships in the swap to decide to flip there, get Josh out, who I think was a big strategic player. Obviously, it wasn't all Megan, but I think
So
she
question.
decided not to go to rocks in that scenario, right?
So
Decided
question
not
to
to
you:
force the tie.
would it have been better for Megan to vote for Sebastian the first vote than flip the revote versus just flipping from the first vote?
I don't know. I think that's so interesting when people bring that up as a strategy,
Well,
right? And
more of a safety concern, right? Because there's always the concern like, what if they're leading me astray so they can then vote me out because then I don't vote correctly,
right, right.
right?
Yeah, I mean it's a thought. I think she would have had to be really confident though that all the Blues plus KC were going to stick together and vote
Mm-hmm.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I feel like if you're going to make the flip, you got to show loyalty from the start and be like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing it, right? I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I trust you guys. I'm doing it. Here we go,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think Angela and Lauren and even Storm to some extent did a really good job reeling her in and
Mm-hmm.
showing her security and safety.
Yeah, I remember we talked last time a lot about Josh, how much you love this game, and it's a good question of like, was Sharif really being Josh's shield? But it seemed like vice versa. Josh is the big
Mhm.
player that got taken out. Now Sharif's sitting at the final six.
Yeah, it's crazy how I think again we talked a little bit about this. Like the Jonathans don't get to the end, and not that obviously I don't think Storm or Sharif are Jonathans, right? They're not quite those challenge beasts, but they are the bigger guys that are I think playing the game very well.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow Josh gets sniped, though, at least optically, a smaller guy. But I think because he's more strategic or coming
Mm-hmm.
off more strategic,
Yeah,
right? Like
he's probably
Josh was being seen as the
the head of
leader.
the Blue Alliance.
Yeah. And kind of being that glue for the blue. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, they said, let's get around Sharif for now and go for the person that's actually holding this alliance together and really our opposition, right? Kind of
Mm-hmm.
cutting the head off the snake versus the big body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's a testament to Sharif's game too that he was able to make Josh the target and not him. And
Mm-hmm.
I think he has, at least for the Ryan vote, he found a way to. It was him, Megan, Angela, and then Lauren, right?
Mm-hmm.
That made that move together as a four. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that four is going to stay together till the four, but he and Megan, found a way to make that four group and take out another really big threat. So yeah, it's been a really interesting section of the game because I
Mm-hmm.
do think there's a lot more fluidity between tribal lines, and the swaps came into play more so than I think in a lot of games of Survivor. The
Mm-hmm.
swaps actually did something for Megan and for Sharif to find cracks and room and a space for their game. So that's really exciting. I think I saw a confessional where Lauren said something about wanting to take like a Bash and Megan to the end,
Mm-hmm.
trying to sit with two original Blues because she saw that the majority of the jury is yellow, and so
Mm-hmm.
maybe they'll stay loyal to her.
Yeah,
I think that's
especially when Keenan and Josh, they don't know Megan at all,
right. They don't really
and
know Megan, and
they've spent a night with Sebastian.
right. So it's not a terrible strategy, but you also have to think about the fact, like, how bitter are they going to be, right? How bitter is Keenan going to be that he was somewhat blindsided? Ryan was severely blindsided.
Speaking of bitter jurors, KC might be a bitter juror.
KC, right? But Casey might be more bitter towards the Blues, right? So in that case, I think it
Well,
helps
I
Lauren's
think more
case.
specifically, he's going to have a bone to pick with Storm if Storm's at the end.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, he said in his exit interview, "I hope Storm's at the end because I'll tear him a new one."
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's Casey's very much a wild card because is he going to feel more betrayed by the Blues, like a
Mm-hmm.
Megan who flipped and kind of put him in the minority, or the Yellows who shunned him immediately at the beginning of the game, right? Like who's he going to feel more spited or
Mm-hmm.
have more spite with or more slighted by?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm very curious to see what his jury decisions become.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
with Lauren at least, there's. I feel like there could be a game respect game. They just represent like, hey, we were against each other, and I made it here, and you didn't, and you were my
right.
biggest star, and I took you
Yeah.
out, and they're like, yeah, okay, sure.
I
Like,
think that's Lauren's play, right? I think she's saying, let me bring two Blues to the end to say like, hey, I'm the only Yellow. You know, I made it here, whether I worked with you or not. Like I still got here. You know, try to pull a Yellow strong card. So
now,
um,
when you played your season, was your idols good to the final 5 or final 6?
you know what's so funny? This is hilarious because I literally could not remember in my season. So I pulled it out at a tribal council and was like, I can't remember if this is good until 6 or 5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good until 5. So then I said, I opened it and read it in front of everyone, being like, if this is good till 5, I'm going to hold on to it and not play it. And it was. So I'm pretty sure it was good till 5. I'm
Yeah, because
pretty sure.
Because my season idols were only good till 6. I just don't know if like because I don't think we've. I just don't know if Megan's gonna gonna be forced to play an expiring idol or not, or if she has more rounds.
I mean, I think
I don't think
strategically she definitely has one more round, but I
Yeah.
don't think I think she'll play it. I don't think she's going to try to bring it to the end and be like, look, I
No,
didn't
not
even
at
need to
all.
play this. I think she'll play it. She seems like the kind of person that would just play it and not risk being voted out with one in her pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious. Someone said, I think it was Storm that said no more idols after this
Mm-hmm.
at 6 right now. So it may be
Mm-hmm.
the idols are only good till 6. Maybe I'm misremembering last season, but I'm pretty sure it was 5. I'm pretty sure I played it at 5.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I still had the note. I think I do, maybe somewhere.
I don't think I have my note. I think I
Yeah,
just have
but
the idol
Storm
from my
did just
season.
say no more idols after this, so maybe they're only good till 6 this
Mm-hmm.
season. Because it's a final 3. It was a final 2 last year, so maybe that's why it was good till 5.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know it's a final 3. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But you know, if it's only good till 6, that's a good indication that we're probably looking at a final 3.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel like Megan's going to be a target here, right? I feel like either it's going to be one of the guys or Lauren.
Yeah, it's seeming like the names that I've heard in this final 6 scramble, which is kind of hard because it's not confessionals, right? You said this.
Yeah.
It's not confessionals, it's game talk. And so you never really know who's lying to who and who's actually telling you the truth. So, you know, I think the names that have been thrown out there are Sharif, Storm, and Lauren. Those have been the big names that are out there right now. Bash has immunity. I think Angela's right in the middle of all of this, so she's not a name on the table. And I don't know if people know about Megan's idol, and that's why her name isn't out there. I know she told Angela, but I don't know if she told anybody else. Bless you, times 2. So, you know, it may be that Angela's leaked that info, like, hey, Megan has an idol, we just shouldn't go that way. But it does seem like Megan's in a lot of people's end game plans, so she may not even be at risk here.
And then is there concern that Sharif has a real idol still because of the fake idol? I don't know.
I don't know either. It's been hard to keep track of real idols, fake idols. You know, we had that idol Armageddon that happened at the final, I think it was 10, right?
Yeah.
Where a bunch of people played idols incorrectly, which I think Lauren played Ryan's idol. Sharif played an idol. Is that right?
So Storm played an idol. Storm played, I think, the merge idol. Or a merge idol, and then Lauren played Ryan's idol, and then all the votes went on Sebastian instead, probably because I assume the other alliance was like, man, they won't go to rocks for Sebastian.
Right. So yeah, I'm not sure if Megan has the only idol left in the game. You know, it's unfortunate. It doesn't look like she'll be able to play it correctly because a correct idol play right now would be a great move to bring to the finals tribal.
Well, I mean, I think what she could do, like, it's kind of question is Sharif being targeted, is Storm being targeted? Let's say it becomes between those two, and she's like, I need Sharif to be here. She plays on them.
She could.
Like, that may be a flashy idol play, but, like, how far does she want to take Sharif? Maybe Sharif is great at the final 5, but not the final 4.
Yeah. But what's interesting about that, right? And there's two ways to think about this. If you play your idol for someone and save them, and you get to the final tribal council with them, you say the only reason Sharif is here
Mhm.
is because of me. Otherwise, he would have gone that round, right? So I brought him here on purpose because I think I can beat him. Sharif can easily flip that around and say, my social game, and
Mhm.
I influenced Megan to use that idol on me and bring me here, right? So there's
Mhm.
two ways to go about it. I always feel like the stronger case is that person wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me,
Yeah.
right? So, and
Unless
that's
they
really what
then
I,
take out their own idol like Marriott and say, "Yeah, I didn't need to play my own because I got other people to play it for me." You're
right.
like, "Ooh."
Yeah. So, there's a lot of ways that that can go. I mean, I debated what to do with my idol, and there's a big controversy last season because in the final five, I threw the challenge
Mhm.
very angrily because I misunderstood the rules. Because what I had done is I had told Shane, I'll play my idol for you if I win immunity. And I didn't want to have to do that because I didn't want Shane to have another thing on his resume where, like, I got Justin to play his idol for me. So I kind of intentionally misunderstood the rules, put my hands on the edge of these cube things that we had to hold together, because I didn't want to have to give Shane the idol.
Mhm.
So, I think there are tons of ways this idol could be used or could not be used. I think Megan's silly not to play it if she doesn't have any other way to utilize it, just to
Mhm.
guarantee. And if there's a fun way to make it flashy, to make it exciting, might be worth it.
So it sounded like she got her idol like pretty early on, like final 10 or final 9, because I think when the confessional tape, she's like, I got it a couple rounds ago. I found out tribal council.
Yeah,
Right.
so she said she found some sort of, I think she said she found a clue at tribal council
Okay.
and then found the idol after that, but I don't remember when. And it's been hard because love the production, but they are posting confessionals like
So
hours
this was in
later.
her morning confessional.
Yeah,
Like at the final 7, she kind of mentions, "Oh, I have an idol," but it
yeah,
is a little something like so. Like for instance, there was a Lauren confessional that came out. And I'm just like, I think this is either like yesterday or
yeah,
early today. It's like kind of like a little bit difficult sometimes timestamp when these confessions
yeah,
happen in
yeah. And it's
context.
great to get all the content, but sometimes it's like there was a video that was posted recently that was like discussing the I think it was the Ryan vote or an earlier vote. I couldn't remember what it was, and I was like, "Whoa, what happened? Did
Yeah,
I miss
it takes me
something?"
a second. Like, okay, this is not the now.
Yeah,
This is like a round ago, and then like,
yeah.
okay, I'm good. I can move on.
Um, I'm just trying. I'm keeping an eye on the
Yeah.
live feed right now.
So
You got Sharif, Storm, and Angela now talking in a little cluster. So,
so at the final 9. So I think we talked about the final 10 good. Then the final 9, like people kind of stayed alliance strong. Sharif has his safety without power. Was he a major threat to go if he didn't use that? I couldn't tell.
I couldn't really tell either. It didn't seem like there was a ton of scrambling that happened after he
Hmm.
left, right? There was a
Hmm.
little bit of whispering, but I don't think it changed much.
Hmm.
I think KC was obviously a bigger target and potentially a bigger challenge threat.
And the original yell
Um,
is just want to wash their hands of him and get him gone.
yeah, I think there was a lot. It's also just a little bit, he's a little bit of a wild card factor. So I think just getting rid of that chaos is sometimes better.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm not exactly sure how in danger Sharif was there, but um, yeah, I mean, I think for it's safety without power is such a weird
Hmm.
advantage, right? Because you're kind of screwing your alliance members or people you promised to vote a
Yeah.
certain way. Um, it keeps you safe for that round, but similar to a hidden immune idol, if you surprise people with it, it just makes your target bigger for the next round.
Hmm.
So I've always been curious about that, and if I would ever use it in a different way, like to send somebody, like give it to
Hmm.
them and say, "Hey, you use this, get out of here."
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't know I don't
Hmm.
know if there's a better way to use that than
Well,
what Sharif did. I
I
mean,
initially didn't think he'd use it. I was like, oh, he's going to the final 7. He can use it because they're using the target. And I was like, oh no, it's gone. But it worked out anyways for him. So.
yeah, I mean, he's doing just fine. So I don't know
Hmm.
whether buying that one round of safety helped
Hmm.
him into establishing himself in the
Yeah.
four for the next couple rounds.
But I think more important, we kind of mentioned before, the final 9 is when Storm gives Casey that fake idol, the rabbit skull entwine, and Casey plays it. It's a dud, and Casey is furious walking the door. we kind of talked about fake allies earlier, like how to use them, but maybe this wasn't the most judicious approach with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a jury management question that comes in here. Like, what is the
Mhm.
point of that? If you felt like Casey had a big move to make and you wanted him to keep feeling safe, giving him an idol makes sense. But I feel like, I don't know. I think Casey's point was like they knew I didn't have anything else. They knew I really had no plays left. So why do that to me,
I
right?
picked him
Like,
when I was down.
yeah. So it's a jury management thing, and I think he said in his exit interview, like the minute Amos said it's not a real idol, Ryan like looked at him and laughed a little bit and said, "Yeah, I made it," and like
Yeah.
kind of rubbed it in his face a little bit.
Hmm.
So I think it's one of those things where you want to make big moves, you want to do fun, splashy things, you want to play the game, but you've got to figure out a way to do it without people feeling like it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
And jury management is so hard. It's so hard to make those moves and then still ask for the respect for making those moves.
Hmm.
Um, I think the Ryan vote is a perfect example, right? Like that group of four, I think they blindsided Ryan really well. And like, is he going to respect that? I hope so. As a
Hmm.
gamer, I think he will.
Hmm.
Um, I think he's really rooting for Storm though. So in his
Yeah.
exit interview, I think he mentioned that. So he may harbor more resentment against the ladies than he's letting on.
What amused me about Ryan in his confessionals is he was not giving information. Like, oh, what about X? Like, I didn't really want to say.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay. And I think I've seen Lauren kind of do it too. She's like, I don't want to give up my cards. I'm just like, we're not a Survivor CBS production. We're not gonna like lead you on to make edits of the information, so you have to do what they did in Guatemala, where like redact information to protect
right.
yourself. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think people are reluctant. This is new for a lot of these people. They're reluctant to really talk a lot in their confessionals. At this point, like I put all my cards on the table. Like I love confessionals. I love telling
Mhm.
people about how I'm playing and what I'm doing, and it's therapeutic in a way, and it lets you process. Like there were a lot of times I remember in Reelfoot, because of the amount of time we had to strategize, I'd go into a confessional, I'd talk something out with my tribe handler,
Mhm.
and I'd walk back to camp being like, now that I've heard myself say it, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. Like I think sometimes it does help you process things. So yeah, I think it has been interesting. And then we get to the Barb vote, and it sounds like, I mean, no disrespect to Barb, but it sounds like something happened overnight last night where Barb either offered to go or wanted to sacrifice herself so Sharif could stay. And there was something funky about that scenario. Barb
Mhm.
definitely felt like she was going.
Mhm.
Um, and Ryan, in one of his confessionals, said, Barb asked me not to say too much, so I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what that meant. I don't know if, she wasn't feeling well, or she, just had enough, wanted to shower, or just didn't, want to take up somebody's spot who, really, really, really wanted to be there.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think, it's a very similar scenario to what we had with Ronnie last year, right? Like when we got down to the 7-ish, Ronnie was like, I'm good. I'll fall on the sword for you guys. Like I've had my experience.
Mhm.
You know, I've done what I came here to do. And maybe Barb was feeling something similar in that moment. It's
Mhm.
an exhausting game. It's a lot of days. She did mention being diabetic and battling through,
Mhm.
not feeling great. And so it's interesting. I'm not sure, how much of it was her versus how much of it was the rest of them. I think,
Mhm.
they mentioned her being a big jury threat. I don't know if I see that. Barb is Barb, and Barb puts herself out there. And I think
Mhm.
she, as we said last time, she plays the game very organically,
Mhm.
which I think is interesting and cool. I don't know if a jury would appreciate that in the same way that we do as viewers.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if she was as big a jury threat as they were discussing. So I don't know if there's more to it.
Mhm.
Maybe at some point Barb will
That's an
set
exit
the
interview
record
thing.
straight. But I think it certainly was good for Sharif. I
Mhm.
don't know if he was the next target, but again, it bought him another round to make some things happen. And then we get to the big Ryan vote, and I was honestly very surprised that this happened. I
Mhm.
think the four core of yellow like knew. The other thing is they knew each other were threats, right? They know
Yeah.
all four of them are playing the game pretty well. They knew that they may have to turn on each other at some point. Not all four of them can get to the end. It was interesting it happened so soon. And I loved that Angela and Lauren leveraged Sharif and Megan to make
Mhm.
that happen. It's hard to tell like who made that call, who made that final decision, who really drove that vote. But I love the mix up. I love that 7 is a very pivotal time, and they took a big shot, and it worked for them. And I hope it didn't completely blow up Angela and Lauren's game. And I think from my perspective, very early on, Ryan was one of my early picks of like, I think he can get really far. I kind of, even on Wednesday, I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the tides are going to turn for him and they're going to target him because he's a threat. But I also said that I thought Josh might win. So who knows what who knows what I know. But yeah, I mean, I think based on my winner pick from Wednesday, I said Angela. I still feel pretty confident about that. I think, I've said this publicly in the viewer chat. I think if Angela gets there, I think she wins. I don't know if there's a scenario where anybody, I mean, it does come down to final tribal, right? There's always an asterisk on predictions because if someone completely bombs, if they Amanda Kimmel their final tribal, like they can lose the game just based on that. But I don't see Angela doing that. And I think she's played a well-rounded enough game. She doesn't really have any individual challenge wins.
That's okay.
But that's okay. And that's not really what the game is about. I think she's connected very personally with a lot of people, and maybe more so than some of the others, right? She has a personal connection with James. I think she had something with Keenan to a point, right? I think, as long as Ryan's not too bitter, I think he's got her. I think she even maybe had a working relationship with KC. Like, I do feel like she's played very well socially, that while she's made the move she's made, she still had some personal connections. If she's not there, I think Lawrence has a good shot. This last round, or the last round or two, maybe it's been a little shakier for Lauren, so that might change. But I think she's a good I think she's going to articulate a good game. So if Angela's not there, I could see Lauren doing it. I'm very much girl power this season. I would love to see Megan there. I think if Megan's sitting against someone like Bash, and maybe Bash and Sharif or Bash and Storm, maybe she could pull it out if she has a really stellar final tribal, and can talk about kind of being the underdog and being that flip vote and navigating the game that way. And it'd be really interesting to see her case, because I don't really see a path for Bash right now, personally. I think Storm and Sharif have cases, and if they present really well, depending on who they're against, there's a chance there. Megan's the biggest mystery to me. Like, obviously, I personally want her to win and have an amazing final tribal and like blow everyone away. I don't know. If she gets there, it would be her first time there. I don't even think in like an online game she's been in a final tribal before. And that first final tribal you do, it is hard. It is so hard. And so, I think, Angela just missed the final tribal for Can You Survive? I think if she goes out at 4, it's going to be like the worst moment of her life again. I don't know if others have been in the end before. I feel like Storm has to have been in the end in online games. His reputation, I think he's won games. I think he's been in, someone said I think he's been in like 15 final tribals or something insane like that. So like you let that man get to the end, he's gonna be able to build a case. He's gonna be able to talk it. So I'm really interested to see this vote. I think is going to be pivotal. The 6, as we said, I think Lauren's name is out there. I think Sharif and Storm's names are out there. If we look at the last vote, Storm was on the outs. Does Storm go here? Does that 4 still stick together and Storm goes? I don't know. I think the guys are trying to potentially rally and say, hey, like, we're getting picked off, at this point. The ladies want to get to the end, the 3 of them. So do the guys come together? And who, I think Lauren has the extra vote on her right now, right? So those 3 guys could put 3 votes on Lauren. If the 3 ladies vote a different way, Lauren could go. So does Megan play her idol for Lauren in this scenario? Like, could be. That would be a really interesting move. And I think, again, if she gets to the end with Lauren, she says, the only reason Lauren's here is because of me. So I'm going to stop talking now, Steven. It's your turn. What do you think?
So I think the key piece of information is that Angela knows that Megan is idol, right? And that I just kind of wondering, like, so Megan and Sharif are really close. If the target ends up falling in Sharif and everyone target goes for them, does Megan play the idol? Angela knowing that, is there a proper backup plan in place that prevent that? I don't know. I mean, I think because I get it all really depends on it's 6 or 5. I think I know from first-hand experience it's very easy to tunnel vision on the expiration date of an item,
Mhm.
wanting to use it at the expiration date, which maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I'm really, really, really curious. I'm going to an event tonight, so I'm gonna be like watching my phone while I'm trying to socialize with people. We'll see how that goes. Um, but yeah, I mean, as I said before, I think everybody here
Mhm.
could have a case. The one that I'm struggling with the most is Bash, just because I mean, similar to Angela and Lauren always voting right. I don't know if Bash has ever voted right. I guess the Josh
Sebastian
vote he did, the Barbara
Sebastian
vote.
voted out Barbara and Josh, right? So
Yeah.
he's voted those two, and then he also voted out Keenan and James
All right. All right.
and
He's voted a little
Carly.
bit correctly. Yeah.
Carly and Drew.
Um,
So he threw his vote. Well, he strategically threw his vote on the Julia vote, and he threw his vote on the KC vote, and then he was just out of it on the Lauren vote. So it's not as bad as we fear. But I
yeah.
think he
I guess
might
that's
need to justify that, because I think
yeah.
those were pivotal moments where like you have Sheree saying, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. Every time he's thrown a vote, it's been for Megan. So his throne vote during the
Has
Julia
it
round was
really?
Megan.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
His throne.
He's voted Megan 3 times now.
Yep.
It's hard to think like Megan will want to work with Sebastian if someone's written your name down 3 times in a game.
It's so interesting seeing them interact in camp and in videos,
Mm.
because I know it's irking Megan that he keeps voting for her. But at the same time, like, he's a little bit of a wild card, and I think if she brings him to the end, I think that's a good thing for her.
Mhm.
So it's certainly got to be a battle of like, I'd love to
Mhm.
sit with this guy in the end, because I don't know if he's going to get the votes. I almost want him in the end because I want to hear his final pitch.
I mean, I think Sebastian's greatest strength is saying that my social game got me to survive that final 11-12 round, right? Keenan and James went home before me, so I was able to integrate my alliance
Yeah,
and
that's
work my
true.
way to the top of it. And yes, maybe I was blindsided here and there, but I was able to work on the top and win key immunities and play a more dominant game with this other alliance than I ever could have on my original tribe.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how else
true.
he could pitch it beyond that.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, I
true.
think
I don't know.
I think people would love to see like a dominant like strategic move, but like I think the Keenan James, like people are saying, well, what's a social thing you did? It's like my social game got me through that.
That's true. It's true. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. If I'm just looking back holistically at the season, what are the big moves? And I do think the James vote is a very standout move, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think the Ryan vote is the other real big
Yeah.
standout move, right? Like those seem to me like the two biggest shakeups in the game. Um,
Well, I know your biggest fear was that the season might be the alliances might be static, right?
yeah,
I saw you made some comments like, oh, I'm really hoping that we see kind of some flexibility at the Ryan vote. I think you really opened things up. And we'll have to see how this final 6 goes, but I think we could see maybe a reshuffling out of who people are voting with depending on outcomes. And maybe we do see like Megan, Sharif, Angela, and Lauren stay together and take out Storm, but maybe they bring back Storm, they round them up, they vote out Sharif, and then the next round they feel comfortable voting out Storm.
yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of options and how it could go. I was looking back and I was like, I think the James is a big moment. I think the final 10, Megan flipping was the big moment, getting
Mhm.
out Josh there, the Ryan vote, right? Like those three things. If you think about it, the big players in those are Angela and Lauren. They are a part of all three of
Yeah.
those. And it probably at the end of the day was their decision.
Mhm.
Um, so, when you think about the big moments in the game and who's really tied to them, who could claim them as their move, I think it's Angela and Lauren. And so it's
Mhm.
better for them if there's only one of them at the end.
Yeah.
If they're both in the end, they have a very similar story. They have similar games, similar moves.
Well, then it
I feel
comes
like
down,
they've got to take each other out. One of them has to take the other one out at some point.
unless they feel confident in their social game and differentiating, right?
Yeah, they're just so similar to me. I mean, I can see some subtle differences, and I think I gravitate more towards Angela's social style than Lauren's social style, but they're both very good. Like
Mhm.
built the relationships that they need to build. I just think when you're thinking back at those big moves, you've got to be able to differentiate yourself from the people you're sitting next to. I think
Well, should Angela take this moment to vote out Lauren?
She could. I mean, that would be such a bold move. And Angela would have to feel so secure that she has other options to get further. Because I do think Lauren will never turn on her. I don't know, maybe not. But
this is final 6, right? I think like final 5, final 4, maybe Lauren's looking, but I don't think Lauren's going to look to do it right now.
No. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see what happens.
All right. Prediction: who's in the final 3?
Gosh. Right now, for some reason, my gut is saying it's an Angela, Megan, Bash. I don't know why. That's where my gut is. Angela, Megan, Bash. I feel like everyone's looking at Bash as a person to bring to the end right now. I feel like he's getting there. Unless all of a sudden the ladies are like, you know what? Fuck the game. Let's just have 3 ladies at the end. It's never happened. Let's just do it and battle it out and see what happens. I see Bash in the end for sure. I think I see Megan in the end for sure. And then I think it's an Angela or Lauren. Like one of those two go in and one do not. I feel like Storm and Sharif are seen very similarly as big targets, as good speakers, as now battling through different parts of the game. I think one of them goes here and one of them goes next if they don't win. If they do win, I think that's the opportunity where Lauren and Angela might go at it.
Yeah, that was actually one of my instinctual thoughts was Angela, Bash, and Megan would be my 3. I mean, I picked Lauren as my winner pick, so I'll say Lauren, Bash, and Megan. This continue supporting that. This is the closest I've gone in a long time for having a preseason winner pick go far. My other was Keenan. Yeah, I think it would be fascinating if we saw the Megan, Lauren, and Angela sit in the end, and I don't know how things would shake out then. I mean, Megan might have an advantage in that she is differentiable, but like it would be tough competition across the board.
Yeah, I do think Megan's best chances are against men for sure. Not that anybody wants to vote for a winner based on gender, but I do think Megan's played a good game as long as she articulates it. I think the ladies would support that. And then all she needs is a couple other votes. I could see her getting somebody like a KC. Barb was very supportive of Meg when she left. So I think regardless of her being pro-women or not in the vote, I think she might get her vote. Her biggest struggle is going to be with James and Keenan. That's going to be, she just has never met them. Right? Yeah. Has really not interacted with them. So she's going to have to articulate a badass game to, I think, win their votes over pretty much anybody else. But I do think like Megan's best chances are with Bash and either Storm or Sharif, whoever has played the worst game up at that point, Storm. Right?
I think I think better chance against Storm, weirdly enough.
I 100% agree. Because, again, those are like two... Bash is really a yellow in my brain, right? So it's kind of like two yellowish folks, and she's the one blue that got all the way through based on that flip. It really justifies that flip. Like, guys, I got here with other yellows. That's why I flipped, because I knew I could get here doing that.
Yeah, if Bash sitting with Storm and one of the girls, maybe it's hard.
It's hard. And I think if these 3 boys go to the end, I think Sharif's got it on lock. Like I think that's his best play. Is to go with those 2 boys for sure. Yeah, I do think
like we're gonna see some exciting stuff at the final 6 and 5 that kind of causes some reevaluation of where people stand. Unfortunately, I think Megan has the most ability to cause that reevaluation with her idol, but maybe some of the guys are gonna be able to pull together, and maybe seeing Lauren go home, and then it's a question of who's really claiming that. Is it Storm? Is it Sharif? Is it Bastion? Or
right? Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting wrap. I know I'll be trying to watch amidst all the craziness the next couple of days. But yeah, I think it's been a really fun season. I want to give a big shout out to the production team again. I really
Mhm.
have loved. They've just elevated
Yeah.
everything. The challenges. I
And
think the
I think the
the
final 6 tribal councils, they're walking to it according to
they're
the mission
walking to
guide.
it. All right,
So everything we said right now could count for nothing. Who
that's
knows?
right. That's right. Let's go see what's going to happen. I'm going to watch while I get ready to go out on the town. But so much fun talking to Steven.
Same, Justin.
I appreciate the time. I look forward to seeing how this all wraps up, and look forward to our official LRG podcast crowning ceremony, where I virtually pass my crown to the winner. No, I'm just kidding. I'm happy to do that if you would love to have a little recap. But yeah, I'm excited to see who wins it all.
All right. Well, have a good time, and everyone tune in for Final Six, and we'll see the winner tomorrow. So thank you all for listening.